You guys, I believe that every sermon should start off with a joke, okay? So I'm going to tell you one, and it may be very bad, but just roll with me. And if it's not funny, just do one of these, like make it look like you're laughing, okay? So there was this massive church, and I'm talking like thousands of people, okay? Like it was a huge church, and it was just full of people, just front to back, standing room only, that kind of thing. And the pastor was up on stage, and he was one of those pastors that yells all the time, and he's got sweat jumping off his face and spit coming out of his mouth, and he's doing one of those ha ha, and the devil will come and ha, that kind of a thing. And the keyboardist was in the back, and every time he would say like a point, she would start going, wah, that kind of thing. Anyway, so this was all happening, and all of a sudden, this giant puff of smoke appeared right on stage. And everybody's like, what in the world? And out comes the devil. Okay, so the devil walks out, and he's got the horns and everything, and he looks like, the average TV devil, and he's just like coming out, and everybody in their most dignified manner jumped up, ran, screaming out the door. Okay, so, there's people crying, screaming, babies are crying, adults are crying, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's out the door, and the devil's walking around the sanctuary, and finally, when he feels like he's done his good work, he starts turning around and walking towards the stage, and he realizes there's an older gentleman sitting in the front row. He's probably about 80 years old, and the devil comes up to him, and gets right in his face, and he's like, aren't you scared of me? And the old man looks at him and is like, why would I be scared of you? And he goes, I'm the devil. I'm the guy you have to chuck underneath the bed for when you go to sleep, like, the devil, like I slash your tires and stuff like that. That's what I'm a bad person. And the devil goes, and the old guy looks at him and goes, man, I've been married to your sister for the past 40 years. Why would I be afraid of you? That's my sermon. Thank you guys for coming today. You guys, I'm just kidding. Sorry, just please bear with me. I'm a youth pastor, and I'm new to this, so I can say whatever I want, and then I'll get in trouble later. Okay. So, have you ever been to a 2-year-old's birthday party? Anybody in here? 1, 2, maybe 3 years old? Yeah? Okay. When did they get so elaborate? Has anybody noticed that? Like, these birthday parties have gotten so elaborate. Like, nowadays, like it used to be, like when I was a kid, they would just put a Pepsi can in front of me when I was like 2 years old, and then I would just drink the whole Pepsi can, and then, I would like poop my pants or something. Anyways, nowadays, it's like moms are putting like these barnwood-style tables on their back, carrying presents in one hand and a battle axe in the other, chopping through the forest with their baby on their stomach just to get a good picture for their baby's 1, 2, 3-year-old birthday, something for Pinterest. And it's like these things have gotten so elaborate and so crazy. I remember Crystal and I, we have these group of friends we grew up with, and we used to go out and celebrate each other's birthdays. It was this big deal. But as we got older, they started having children, and we stopped celebrating our birthdays, and we started celebrating these kids' birthdays. You know what I'm saying? So the birthdays were so elaborate. I'm talking like there was one time, no joke, there was a chocolate fountain. 1 years old, 2 years old, okay, chocolate fountain. There was, a cheese spread. There was like a bouncy house for a kid that couldn't even jump in it. Like, I'm talking like crazy stuff, like a bouncer out front letting people in, making sure crazy uncles stay out, like crazy stuff. Anyway, so we were like, you know what? If we're going to go to this elaborate birthday party, we need to bring an elaborate gift, right? Now, keep in mind, they're 2 years old, but we were thinking, hey, this is such a big deal, we're going to bring some Legos. That's what we're going to do. The kid didn't even have its basic motor skills, let alone being able to open a present. Like, how is it going to play with Legos? So we were like, we are going to be the best gift there. They're going to love us so much, all this kind of stuff. We bring the present. We get to the time when the baby's about to open the present, and 2 years old, put the present in front of them, and it just takes a little bit, and they're like chewing on it and stuff like that, trying to open it. And then finally they open it, and they pick the present up, and they go, and they pick the next present up. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but it's Legos. Like, we spent so much money on that Lego set, that kind of a thing. And like, at the very end, it's like you find yourself saying, did it even matter that I got them a gift? Like, I probably could have just got them a dodgeball, and they would have played with that way more. You know what I'm saying? I can also see the mother at the end of the birthday party after she planned for months and months and months to plan this birthday party, sent out invitations and sent out, got the right people there, got the cheese spread and the chocolate fountain, and the inflatable and all that kind of stuff. And at the very end, what was that? The petting zoo. Yeah, there's a time for that too. I hope that happens on my 30th birthday, though, because I didn't get it when I was a kid, so. Right, babe? Okay. Anyways, at the very end of this day, this mother's probably thinking, does it matter that I did all of this stuff when the baby would much rather just be at McDonald's eating a Happy Meal playing on the slide? You know what I'm saying? Does it matter that I put all of this effort into something when nobody even cared about it, it seemed like, you know? Do you ever find yourself asking that question, does it matter? Yeah. Does it really matter that I'm doing this? Does it really matter? Am I going to be appreciated for doing this? Maybe it's work. Maybe, does it matter that I show up early, on time maybe, do everything I possibly can, I give above and beyond, I work harder than anybody else, but does that matter? Does it matter that I studied so hard for this exam in college, but I ended up getting a C anyways, and it would have been better if I just would have copied Susie Q, because I probably would have gotten the same grade. Does it matter that I studied? Or moms, does it matter that you cleaned the house when your kids were out and they're going to come back in 20 minutes like a Hurricane Katrina and blow the thing up again? Does it matter? We all wonder these things. We all long for significance in our lives. We want to know that what we're going to do is worth it. We want to know that we're not just doing things just to live, die, repeat. We want to have worth in our lives. Everybody does. I want worth in my life. This is what I want to talk about today. Let's go ahead and jump right into Scripture. Luke chapter 20, very, very bottom to verse 45. Then the crowds listening, he turned to his disciples and said, "Beware of the teachers of religious law, for they like to parade around in flowing robes and love to receive respectful greetings as they walk in the marketplaces, and how they love the seats of honor in the synagogues and the head of the table at banquets. Yet they shamelessly cheat widows out of their property and then pretend to be pious by making long prayers in public. Because of this, they will be severely punished." Can you go to the chapter 21, please? I'd like to read that as well. Oh, thank you. While in the temple, he watched the rich people dropping their gifts in the collection box. Then a poor widow came by and dropped in 2 small coins. "I tell you the truth," Jesus said, "this poor widow has given more than the rest of them. For they have given a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything that she has." The widow giving all that she had. She only had 2 mites, two coins. And it said that's everything that she had. She gave everything. The Pharisees came in, they just gave off they had all this money, but they just gave a tiny bit off the top. And it is talking about this widow, she gave more, you know what I mean? Like she gave more in the 2 that she had than the Pharisees had just off the top, even though the top was probably more than that widow had ever made in her entire life. The title of my sermon is "When Your All Seems Small." When everything you got seems like just a little bit, just a tiny little effort, it's just a little bit. When you, and I'm going to explain all this in just a second, but when you read the Bible, you start to get to know Jesus for yourself. And you start to kind of get his characteristics and see what he's really like. Like when I was a kid, I grew up thinking that Jesus was angry all the time. I did. That's what I was told. I was told that Jesus, if you messed up once, you strike you dead, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way God was. But once I started to read the Bible for myself, I started to realize Jesus is kind, he's loving, he's caring. You know what I'm saying? I started to get to know the characteristics of God. The thing about Jesus is when he came to earth, he started to challenge our values, challenge our beliefs. Things that we believed and things that were set in tradition for years, Jesus came to challenge those. And you hear him saying things like this: "You have heard it said, but I say." Basically saying, you've heard people say this, but let me tell you what really matters. So when he comes in, he's in the scripture, he's challenging the Pharisees' values. He looks to the disciples and he says, "Listen, these Pharisees have everything messed up. This woman who gave the smallest, most insignificant seed actually gave the most." When we look at this scripture, I want it to challenge our thinking. I want it to challenge what we value. When you feel like your gift doesn't matter, When you feel like you're pouring your heart and your soul into something that you feel like maybe it's not going to make a big difference. You know, maybe you come to New Life Church. Maybe you're pouring your heart and soul into serving on the serve team. Or maybe you're pouring your heart and soul into your kids. You're raising your kids, and you're like, does this even matter? Is it just kind of a drop in the bucket? I want to challenge our thinking. Maybe we're valuing the wrong thing. God is way more concerned about how you're doing something than what you're actually doing. He's way more concerned about how you do it. The widow, she gave from her heart. The Pharisees gave from something that didn't even matter. They did it to look good. They did it because they wanted people to think, oh my goodness, look how much they gave. That widow, you know how much courage it probably took? I mean, they didn't do offering like we do, you know, like they pass it down. They had offering buckets in the front. You know what I'm saying? This widow just comes up with 2 mites, puts them in the offering because that's all she had. You know what I'm saying? Imagine how much courage that had. Maybe we're valuing the wrong thing. Point number 1 is we value appearance. God values attitude. You guys, let's go back to the moms and dads like birthday party for the 2-year-olds. Okay, let's talk about that again for a second. While people are putting on these birthday parties, like these massive birthday parties, you know, like they're getting the Paw Patrol balloons, they're getting the inflatables, they're getting the mud slide into the pool, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like all of these things put together. And at the same time, like they got the cake up there, they got the cupcakes, the gluten-free, sugar-free, health-free, whatever, you know, like the free cake. They got all that stuff up there. And the kids, what are the kids doing while the parents are getting ready? They're running around. Like they're digging their hands in that chocolate fountain. You know what I'm saying? They're jumping on the jumpy place. They're going down the mud slide. They're tackling the bodyguard. They're they're kicking the Paw Patrol balloons and all that kind of stuff. They're just going crazy because their dreams come true are happening today. You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, what happens? The kids are playing and the moms and dads are like, would you knock it off? Can't you see I'm trying to put a party on? You know what I'm saying? Who's the party for? You know? It's not for the kids. Who's it for? It's for the adults. We value appearance. God values attitudes. You see, the appearance was, this is for, like, I want this to look perfect. You know what I'm saying? I want this to look perfect for my kid, but the attitude is I want everybody to think that I'm really good at parenting and all that kind of stuff. In all actuality, you know, the kid just wanted to play with the food. You know what I'm saying? There have been so many times that Crystal and I have posted something on social media that just made life seem like it was so put together. I mean, we post a picture of us at a beach, you know, with our toes in the sand, and we're like, hashtag life is good, hashtag love my life, hashtag like toes or something like that, or like, what is that, like Christian sayings, like live, laugh, love, or something, like, you know, like you got to post it to be cool. All this kind of stuff, like we post it, and it looks really good, or like I'll post a picture of myself. I'm like, hey, getting ready to, you know, do this or whatever, and post it on social media, and then like it looks like everything's all put together. But what you didn't see is before we took that picture, Crystal and I were having an argument. You know what I'm saying? There was something going on. I was like, what do you mean you don't like pizza? You know, like that kind of argument, stuff like that. Or before I post a picture of myself, I'm like, man, does this make me look fat? Do I have a double chin in this picture? Like, man, maybe I should repost this. I kind of look a little bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need to, have you ever seen those ones? It's like, I felt cute in this picture, but might delete. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how it goes. Like, I post it, and then I'm like, ooh, maybe you should change it. There is a part in Matthew, the book of Matthew, when Jesus turns to his disciples, and he compares the Pharisees, and he says, the Pharisees are like whitewashed tombs. And you're probably like, who's the Pharisees? Like, why are you like digging in on them right now? The Pharisees were religious leaders back in the day. And these people, they followed nothing but traditions. They followed God in traditions, but they never actually cared about the person of God. They just wanted to look spiritual. They just wanted to look important. And they used religion as a way to scare people, steal money, steal food, get a higher place in society. That's what they used it for. So Jesus came to challenge that. So Jesus says the Pharisees are like whitewashed tombs. They're beautiful on the outside. They know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. They know what to post on social media. You know what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff. But on the inside, they're nothing but dead, dry bones. Beautiful on the outside. And this isn't just go for the Pharisees. This is an attitude that we adopt as humans. It's a human nature thing. Sometimes we post things on social media. Sometimes I put it on Instagram. Maybe sometimes you post something on Instagram that looks, yeah, it's awesome. But on the inside, you're going through squalor. Like something's hurting. Something's wrong. Something's definitely not right. You know what I'm saying? God wants us to have life and life more abundantly. God doesn't want us to walk around a bunch of old, dry bones. He cares about us. He cares about our insides. And listen, when you post things and when I post things about life that looks good, but it's actually fake, I'm just covering up the real problem. And when I cover up the real problem, not only am I hiding from myself, but I'm hiding from you guys. And not only am I hiding from you guys, you know who I'm hiding from? I'm hiding from God. I'm hiding those problems from him because I just want to cover it up. I don't want to address them. I don't want to say, okay, this problem is really hurting. I'm really having some trouble in my marriage. I could really use some help, but I just want to cover it up with a nice picture of like Channing Tatum or something like that, you know? Like I just want it to look like things are going really, really well. But when you do that, God cannot get on the inside of you and work from the inside out like he wants to. You see, God, it says in the word that he's a gentleman. He's not going to force himself on you. He's not going to push himself on you. He's coming to you with an invitation. And when your soul's covered up, when things are covered up, and even though things aren't going so well, but you cover it up, there's no invitation. There's no invite. It's covered up. You know, like he can't get in and work the way that he wants to work on the inside of you. Let's go back to verse 46, if we could, please. Beware of these teachers of religious law, for they like to parade around in flowing robes, and they love to receive respectful greetings as they walk in the marketplace, and how they love the seats of honor in the synagogues and the head table at banquets. Yet they shamelessly cheat widows out of their property and pretend to be pious by making long prayers in public. Because of this, they will be severely punished. Point number 2 is we value importance, but God values integrity. Think about it. We as society, we value the rich over the poor. If you go to a restaurant, if a rich person goes to a restaurant, they're going to clear a table. You know what I'm saying? They're going to park his car. If a poor person comes in, it's, hey, man, we'll get to you when we get to you. You know, that kind of a thing. We value that. We value the good-looking over the not-so-good-looking. You know what I'm saying? Or the good-looking over the ones with just a good personality. You know, that kind of a thing. Like, you guys ever seen Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? You guys know? You guys know him? Dude, he is awesome. I love him. I love his movies. I know they're cheesy. I know they're predictable, and they're all going to be the same, but I love every one of them, and I can't get over it. I don't know why I value him more than a lot of things. Anyways, okay, we'll move on from that. But we value these things. We value importance over integrity. And if it looks good, that's kind of what we gravitate towards. We want to go towards what looks good. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to be with the kind of geeky and the not so cool kind of a thing, because if we're with that and we're associated with that, we might not be important. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you a story, but before I do, I just want to give it up for the kids' church. Can we give it up, like, big round of applause for the kids' church right now? You guys, those guys are in the trenches right now. They are taking care of kids, you know, kids that they don't even know, changing diapers of kids they don't even know. You know, remember your kid wiping his boogers on the wall in your house? He's doing that right now and there. You know what I'm saying? So, like, let's thank them. When you see him, give him a high five, say thank you so much. The reason why I'm highlighting the kids' church is because when I was young, the most impactful stories and the most impactful things that had ever happened to me in my life was when I was between the ages of 4 and 16. And that's when I was always in, like, Sunday school or kids' church, learning about Jesus, learning about the principles of God. And the reason why I'm saying this is because the story I'm about to tell you is a story that I learned when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I remember it to this day. That's how much it impacted me. And that's what's going on right now. And so those guys are awesome. I'm going to tell you a story about integrity, okay? It's a story about integrity, but there was a young boy, and it was in Asia somewhere, and this young boy lived with his mother. This young boy wasn't very important. He wasn't cool. He didn't have, like, you know, he wasn't the star athlete. He wasn't a motivational speaker. He wasn't fast. You know what I'm saying? He was just a normal, average kid. And anyways, one day, a messenger knocked on the door, and he comes up and he gives his mother a scroll, like, back in the day, a scroll, and he opens it up, and the scroll said, every young boy from ages 5 to 25 needs to come to the palace. And so the mom looks at the little boy and says, like, okay, we got to go to the palace. And they're real nervous because they're not really sure what's going on. Like, are we in trouble? Did we do something wrong? Is he going to be in the army? All this kind of stuff. So they all start making the long trek towards the palace. And when they get there, the little boy starts getting really intimidated, even more. Because everybody that shows up is either really cool, really funny, really fast. They look way more qualified to be there than he does. He's just really intimidated. And he gets there, and they're all like talking amongst themselves. There's thousands and thousands of young men. And the emperor comes out of the gates. He opens up this gate, or the giant 25 by 25 walls, and he opens them up, and he comes out, and he's like standing there like this, and he puts his hand up in the air. Everybody quiets down, and he motions to his messenger. The emperor doesn't say a word. The messenger comes up and says, thank you guys for coming. We are looking for the next emperor. We are looking for the next heir of the throne, and we're looking for it amongst one of you guys. In 7 months, I want you all to return here, and we will choose the emperor when you get back. In 7 months, we're going to choose the emperor. But before you leave, I want you to take a flower pot. Each person takes a flower pot. And so everybody goes up, and they're like, okay, this is so weird, but we're going to do it. And the bodyguard says, there is a specific seed in a specific pot. And when that seed grows up, that seed, and whoever's got that specific flower, that will be the emperor. That's how we're going to choose it. And they're like, this is so weird. Okay, so they grab the pot. Everybody goes home. The little boy grabs the pot, and he is just so excited. I mean, this could mean everything to him. This is a life change, a destiny change. He could help his mom. He could help his whole family. So he gets home, and the little boy, first thing he does, he waters the plant. He moves his bed out of the way. He starts taking care of that thing. He starts watering it. He puts it right directly in the sunlight. He's like, this thing is going to be the biggest plant ever. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't even matter if it's a watermelon. It's going to grow huge. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a big one. So this boy's watering and watering. First month, nothing. Not even a bud. Not even like a little bit pokes out of the seed. Number 2, the second month goes by, nothing. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7 months goes by. Nothing. He watered it every day. Every time it got dry, he watered it, put it in the sun. He skipped out on staying the night at his friend's house because he wanted to water this plant. He's like, no, this is way important, way too important. You know what I'm saying? He stopped playing Fortnite because he wanted to water this plant, That's a message for some of you out there. Okay. Anyways, he stopped doing all this because he wanted to water this plant. Anyways, nothing happened. His mom comes in. He's like, baby, what's going on? And he's like, Mom, just looks down. He's like, nothing happened. What do you mean nothing happened? The plant didn't grow. The plant didn't grow? Well, okay, well, let's go to the marketplace. We'll buy the biggest flower. Nobody will know. It's not going to affect anybody. Nobody will know. The emperor won't know. We'll just take that plant. And the little boy looked at his mom and he said, no, Mom, this was my failure. This is my problem. I need to be integrous. I need to be honored. I honor the emperor too much to lie to him. I need to tell him the truth. And so the little boy gets everything ready. They start making the long trek back to the palace. It's been 7 months. They get there, and sure enough, man, he gets there, and all of the kids, they have giant flowers. You know what I'm saying? Everything is grown. They had a sunflower. One guy had a rose bush. One guy had peonies. One guy had just flowers. There was just a lot of flowers, okay? I don't know what they're called. There was a lot of flowers there. So he starts getting real intimidated. He starts to feel kind of, I feel a little dumb being here with this plant, this pot, and nothing grew. But he said, sure enough, I'm just going to be here. I'm going to show the emperor. So being embarrassed, he starts shuffling back in the back of the line and letting everybody else go first. And every boy goes into the palace, waits there for 5 minutes, comes back out, and each boy's got a smile on the face, almost like, yeah, I got this. I'm going to be the next emperor kind of a thing. And everybody starts going home. They start filtering out. Finally, it's the little boy's turn. And the guard goes, all right, young man, come on up here. And he gets to the door, and the guard goes, where's your flower? And he's like, it didn't grow. He said, you mean to tell me it didn't grow and you're still here? He was like, yeah. Say, okay. So the guard opens the door. The emperor looks at him and goes, where's your flower? And the young man said, I'm sorry, sir. It didn't work. I watered it every day. I kept it in the sunlight. I nurtured it. I did whatever I possibly could, but the seed didn't grow. And the emperor goes, the seed didn't grow, and you have the audacity to bring that back into my palace. And the little boy's like, yes, sir. And the emperor stood up, threw off his coat, and said, finally, somebody with integrity, somebody that cares enough to tell me the truth. He said, young man, do you see what happened? I roasted every one of those seeds. Every seed that I put into the flower pot, I roasted them. There was not a single seed that was going to grow. In fact, I put corn seed inside of every one of those pots. So if it was going to grow, it would have been corn. He said, you are the only one integrous enough to come talk to me and tell me what really happened. You are the next emperor. And they started training. Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? That's such a crazy story. This little boy didn't know that the flower wouldn't grow. He just knew integrity. He watered it. He nurtured it. He knew that this is what he wanted to take care of. It was a calling from the emperor. Take care of the seed. That was the calling. Take care of the seed. Take care of the small thing, the integrous thing, the insignificant thing. Take care of it. In your life, there's things that you're probably called to take care of. Your kids. You know, you're watering it every single day. You're taking care of these kids every single day. And it's like, does it matter? Because at the end, they hate me. You know what I mean? They don't like me. They don't want to go to church. They don't want to go to youth group. They don't like me. Keep watering. There's a job that you're going to, and you're like, the boss doesn't like me. You know what I mean? I'm here every day. I work harder than anybody. I probably deserve a raise, but I haven't gotten one in 15 years. You keep watering. You keep watering. You keep watering. Because maybe we are looking for the results in the wrong place. Maybe we're looking for the seed to give us results, but the true result, is going to come from God. You see, the little boy was looking at the seed for the result, but the result wasn't coming from it. It came from the emperor. And he kept watering and watering and watering. And finally, when he gets there, he showed his faithfulness. He showed his integrity. You see, he probably wanted to look really, really, really important and have a seed and have a giant flower to bring and so that everybody would think he was cool. But if he sacrificed that to look cool in front of everybody else, then his destiny would have been offset forever. You see, he was honest, he was open with the emperor, and that's what brought him to his destiny. That's what brought him to the place. You guys, one of my favorite scriptures is Luke 16:10. If we could turn it there. If you have your Bibles, you could turn there. If not, it's up here. Luke 16:10 says, if you are faithful in the little things, you will be faithful in the large ones. But if you are dishonest in the little things, you won't be honest with the greater responsibilities. You guys, this is my favorite scripture. I want to tell you a little story about it. My wife and I used to be in ministry, a full-time ministry in Shreveport, Louisiana. We were there for about 8 years. In that ministry, they had these things called sentences. Now, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand. If you know what the sentences are, raise your hand. Yep, Angela was in it with us. Sentences was like, okay, so if you messed up really, really bad on something, or, you know what I'm saying, something crazy, instead of having a punishment, you would write sentences. And sentences was, you had to write Luke 16:10 100 times, okay? 100 times. Garrett used to do this too. He did a lot of them. He was a turd. And so it was Luke 16:10. You had to write it 100 times. Sometimes when you did something really bad, it was 200, maybe 300 sentences. I've known people to write 4 at a time. You guys, it's crazy. You get writer's cramp. This is nice compared to the scriptures that we had to. This is a nice version. This is the NLT version. It's not so long. We had to write the Amplified version, which was, he who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. And he who is dishonest and unjust in a very little thing is dishonest and unjust also in much. Luke 16:10, Amplified Edition. We had to write all of that. The whole thing, 100 times, you guys. And I don't mean to brag, but I've written about 2,300 of those puppies, okay? I know a guy, Jason Schouten, he wrote, I think it was up to 5,300 sentences. Anything and everything. You do not want to know. We used to have these golf carts. Why am I saying this? He used to have these golf carts at the old ranch, and we had hills, you know? And man, we'd be like, guys, don't take the golf carts out there and ride them so hard because it could break, As they're telling us this, as we're in a big group, okay, we're in a big group, they're telling us this, well, all of a sudden you hear this, I'm like, oh God, no. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, Jason Shout comes flying over the hill. And I'm talking, he got some air, like this much. On a golf cart, that's a lot of air, you know what I'm saying? He just goes, boom, 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 boom. And the back seat is just, and one of the batteries comes unplugged. It's got like 6 batteries, and it comes unplugged. And he does a hockey stop and just goes, like that. And everybody's just like, and he's like, I don't know how many he had to write for that. Yeah. So parents, remember sentences. This is my favorite scripture, and you're like, why is this your favorite scripture? You had to write it a million times. Well, it wasn't, but now it is, okay? So the reason why I like it so much is because, I used to read it wrong. I used to think it wrong. I used to think it said, if you are faithful in the little things, you will be made faithful over much. But it doesn't say that at all. This isn't a promise. This isn't an if you do, you will get. God doesn't allow me to break him down to a formula. He's not going to say, if you do this, then you will get this. God's going to bless you. But this is a principle. This is what it is. It's a principle. If you are faithful in the little things, you will be faithful in the large ones. You guys, if we're faithful in the small things, the things right now, the things that you don't want to be faithful with, the things that don't seem like they're very important right now, when the big things come, you're going to be ready for it. It's not going to just be there. If you were to hand a 2-year-old car keys, you know what I'm saying, or a 10-year-old car keys, they're not going to be ready to drive that car. They have to be faithful to watch dad drive. They have to be faithful to drive around in the parking lots. You know what I'm saying? They have to be faithful to go to driver's ed. They have to be faithful to go through this whole process before they can drive and be trusted to drive on the road, right? That's how you're faithful. You guys, little opportunities don't lead to bigger opportunities. Little opportunities are the big opportunities. When you're faithful in the little, you will be made faithful over much. You guys, I work at Zoomies, at a skate shop in the mall. If you don't know what that is, Zoomies, it's a lot of fun. But dude, there is just something about working with 20-year-old men. Like, you guys, I'm like, dude, you shower? Like, did you shower last night? No, I'm just kidding. If you're watching, I love you. I love you. I love you guys. We'll talk about it later. Anyways, they show up, you guys, and they would much rather live in a messy place. Not all of them, most of them would just rather live in a messy place. It doesn't matter if there's just, I'll come in to open up for the morning and there'll be just trash along the floor. Shirts will be, unfolded and markdowns aren't done and stuff like that. And I just come in and I'm like, what is this place? Like walking in and to me, my faithfulness is if I were to go in there, I wouldn't necessarily have to clean. I wouldn't have to fold. I wouldn't have to do markdowns. Nobody's going to know because nobody really cares. You know what I'm saying? But I'm faithful because this is the place God put me. And when I'm faithful with the little, I will be faithful in much. I will be faithful later. This little boy didn't know that watering this plant was going to give him what it gave him, but he kept watering it regardless because that's what he was called to. Point number 3, and I'll let you guys go here. God values sacrifice over show. Let's go to John 6, verse 5, please. And this is a story about a little boy with loaves and fish. You've probably heard this story, but just bear through it with me if you could. It says, Jesus soon saw a crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he asked, where can we buy bread to feed all of these people? He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. Philip replied, even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them. And then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. There's a young boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good is that with this huge crowd? Tell everyone to sit down, Jesus said. So they all sat down on the grass slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000 people. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. After that, he did the same with the fish. and they all ate as much as they wanted. After everyone was full, Jesus told his disciples, now gather the loaves, or the leftovers, so that nothing is wasted. So they picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left by the people who had eaten from the 5 barley loaves. And the baskets, and it goes on to say the baskets numbered to 12. There was 12 baskets that it filled up. You guys, this little boy is, what I want to highlight in this whole scripture is I want to highlight the sacrifice that this little boy made. This little boy made a sacrifice. Remember, God values sacrifice over show. Now, this little boy, I would like to think, was probably coming back from, like, the market. You know what I'm saying? He was getting food, and I don't think he was getting all those, the 5 loaves and the 3 or the 2 fish for himself. I think he was getting it for his family. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't make sense for him to eat it all on his own. I mean, I know boys can eat that much, but I don't think that's what he was doing. So this little boy was on his way home to feed his family. He probably went for his mom or his aunt or whatever. And he was stopped by this really weird-looking bearded dude who, like, was like, hey, Jesus needs your food. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, what? He comes over, and he sees, I would like to think, he sees the crowd of 5,000 men plus. And, you know, and back in the day, the Bible didn't number women. So let's go ahead and add the women to this. I would go as far to say there would be 9,000 to 10,000 people here, husband, wives, and children. About to 10,000 people, and the little boy comes over, and he comes to the sea of people, and he's like, Jesus needs my fish and my loaves? What good is my small contribution gonna do for the sea of people? How is my fish and my loaves going to feed, or even, it might feed the disciples, it might feed Jesus and 5 other people, but it's not going to feed 10,000 people. Why would I sacrifice what little I got if it's not going to reach that people group? Why do you need my food? So the little boy had a choice to make. Am I going to trust Jesus with what little I got, or am I going to go home and feed my family for 1 whole week? Man, I'm glad that he chose I'm glad he chose the first. He gave his food to Jesus. He gave it to Jesus. And this little boy said, listen, this is small. This is insignificant. And I don't know if it's going to reach those people. But if Jesus, the multiplier, says that he can do it and he can use my contribution to reach the 10,000 people, then I'm going to trust him. And guess what Jesus did? He took the bread, right? And he just kept coming out. Just more bread out of the basket. And he was just passing out this bread, passing it out. And guess what? He did the same with the fish. He started passing the fish out. It says everybody ate until they were satisfied. Everybody was full. And at the very end, guess how many baskets was there? There was 12 baskets of food. This little boy gave a sacrifice of, this is really small. I don't see how my small contribution helps. I don't see how it's going to make a difference. But if Jesus needs it, I'm going to give it to him. And when he was done, he had 12 baskets. 12 baskets. His one turned into 12 because of his small contribution. Maybe you're thinking, you know what, I don't really want to help out at New Life Church. They got so many volunteers. They have so many people that are there to help. What is my once a month helping in the kids' church going to do? It just seems like a drop in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? What is my one contribution going to help? Maybe you're trying to spread positivity. You have no idea what a smile could do to somebody. Your smile can turn into somebody's good day. That good day could turn into somebody's life change. That life change can change somebody else. That somebody else can change somebody that's going through a divorce. That person that's going through a divorce can help somebody with suicide. It's a ripple effect. That one small sacrifice, when you feel like all you got is just a little bit, when you feel like all you have is not enough, man, give it to Jesus. Say, God, this is for you. I'm giving this to you. It seems small to me. Me, youth pastoring, to me it's a big deal because I feel like youth can do anything, but I could get to that place where it's like, what's it affecting? I don't feel like they listen to me. I feel like maybe they would rather play Fortnite than listen to what I have to say. I feel like maybe my contribution might be small. The youth group's kind of small right now. What good does it do if I come in and give everything I got to just a group of a small group? But the ripple effect that it has when I give my all to something like this. You see, God is looking for people that are willing to give everything they got to something that they may not have a name put on, or they may not have a plaque put on. I may never have a plaque above Zoomies that says, this dude was the cleaner of the group. You know what I'm saying? Like, I may never have that. Shoot, the youth group, I'm believing it will, but it may never grow past where it's at until maybe somebody else comes. I may never see what I did to plow, but I'm going to be faithful to give what I got to this little thing because I know that when I water and when I give all I got to this little contribution, the ripple effect is going to be bigger than I ever could have imagined. Amen. You ever been to a lake in the morning, the still of the morning, and it just looks like glass, you know? You can see your reflection, and because you're a boy and you like to ruin things, you throw a rock in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying? You ever do that before? Raise your hand. Yeah, we're all human. Okay. I've done that before. And I remember I took a rock and I threw it right in the middle of the lake because I just wanted to see what happened. I just kind of wanted to see a little bit more chaos, I guess. And the rock fell right in the middle of the lake and it started to ripple. Just that little rock in this massive body of water started to ripple. You have no idea how big your little contribution, how many ripples your little contribution is going to give. And I'm not calling your contribution little. I'm not calling your gift little. But if you feel like it's little, don't be afraid to give it. Don't be afraid to step out. Don't be afraid that, hey, if I get out there, I'm going to fall face first on the ground and somebody's going to make fun of me. Just get back up and give it again. Because God is watching. When nobody cares, God cares. When nobody else is watching, God's watching. God keeps the books. And if you never see the result of that ripple, it's okay. Somebody else did. And you may see it, you're going to see it in heaven. But somebody else has changed because of that little contribution you gave.
Thanks for tuning in to New Life Sermon Series Online. If you're blessed by these messages and are interested in helping spread the Word of God to others, make an investment today. You can give at newlifechurchsf.org. If you have a story or a testimony to share, let us know on our website as well. We hope you have a blessed day and enjoy today's message by Pastor Alex.